In 1876, a Sioux warrior stands on a Montana ridge, gazing at a valley alive with 1,200 teepees and 20,000 horses. Custer charges in with just 260 men, facing 2,500 Sioux and Cheyenne warriors. Dust explodes, arrows fly, and a nation fights for its soul. Why did he risk it all? What secrets drive this epic clash? Decode Little Bighorn, now. Decoding Little Bighorn, Custer's fall and the Sioux's defiant victory. The Montana sun hung low on June 25, 1876, painting the Little Bighorn Valley in fiery golds. On a windswept ridge, a Lakota warrior named Iron Wolf steadied his painted pony, his face streaked with black and ochre. His leather tunic clung to his sweat-soaked frame, and his carved staff, tipped with a hawk feather, trembled in the restless breeze. Below, a village of 8,000 souls thrived, as historian John Gray recorded in Custer's last campaign. Smoke curled from 1,200 lodges, each a haven for laughter and stories. Beyond, 20,000 horses grazed, their manes rippling like waves, a sight so vast that U.S. Army scouts froze in awe. This was no camp, it was a nation of Lakota Sioux, Northern Cheyenne, and Arapaho, united under Sitting Bull to defend their sacred lands. In the village, a young Cheyenne woman, Sparrow Song, 19, braided her hair with beads, her eyes fierce. She'd fled the reservation's hunger, joining her brother, Swift Arrow, among 2,500 warriors. "We fight for our children," she whispered, sharpening her knife. Sitting Bull, 45, stood by his teepee, his voice low but thunderous, "The Wasatch break their promises. The Black Hills, ours forever, bleed with their greed." The 1868 Treaty of Fort Laramie had sworn the hills sacred, but gold in 1874 drew 15,000 prospectors, shattering the pact, as D. Brown noted in Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. When the Sioux refused to sell in 1875, the U.S. unleashed General Philip Sheridan's army. Across the valley, a scout named Elias Reed, his blue coat frayed, scribbled a note, 2,500 warriors, maybe more. His hands shook as he handed it to Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer, 36, whose golden curls gleamed under a wide-brimmed hat. Custer read it, smirked, and tossed it aside. "We'll cut through them by dusk," he said, his 260 men weary but loyal. Why dismiss such odds? Ambition burned in him, a Civil War hero craving another legend. General Alfred Terry's estimate of 800 warriors, based on stale May 1876 reports, blinded the 7th Cavalry. The valley, river to the east, cliffs plunging 100 feet to the west, was a fortress, as Robert Utley wrote, impregnable. As dusk fell, Iron Wolf spotted dust rising, soldiers. His heart raced. He galloped to warn Sitting Bull, shouting, "They come." The village stirred, warriors arming, women shielding children. The air crackled with fate. Why did the U.S. betray the Sioux? Could honoring the treaty have averted this clash? June 25, 1876. Dawn broke, the sky ablaze with crimson. Lieutenant Charles Varnum, 27, slumped in his saddle, exhausted from a 60-mile ride. Leading 15 scouts, Crow trackers like Half-Yellow Face and Arikara couriers like Red Star, he was tasked with finding Sitting Bull's camp. The scouts, their eyes sharp as eagles, read the plains like a sacred scroll. Varnum, a West Point man, was blind to its signs, his vision blurred by dust and fatigue. At 4:30 a.m., they crested the Crow's Nest, 20 miles from the village. Half-Yellow Face froze, pointing to smoke curling against the horizon. Below, 15,000 to 20,000 horses blanketed the valley, a living tide signaling a massive camp. Varnum squinted, seeing nothing. "You're mistaken," he muttered, but Mitch Boyer, a half-Crow interpreter, raised his spyglass and cursed. "It's a nation," he said, the camp stretching 3 miles, teepees nestled among cottonwoods. The horse herd screamed danger, 3,000 to 6,000 warriors, far beyond Terry's 800 fighter estimate. Varnum scrawled a note, "Large village, massive herd, 20 miles out," and sent Red Star and Bull galloping to Custer by 7:30 a.m. Custer, camped along the Rosebud, read it and scoffed. "Scouts see ghosts," he told aide William Cook. His 600 men, starved by the native herds grazing, were restless. Why ignore the warning? Pride, perhaps, or the memory of Washita, where he'd crushed a Cheyenne village. He planned to strike alone, splitting his force, Captain Frederick Benteen to scout south, Major Marcus Reno to charge the village, himself to flank north. In the village, sitting bull-burned sage, his vision of soldiers falling like grasshoppers vivid. "We fight for our home," he told Crazy Horse, whose single feather gleamed. Sparrow Song, beside Swift Arrow, tied a feather to her braid. "If we die free," she vowed. Dust rose on the horizon, blue coats. Iron Wolf's cry echoed, "The soldiers come." The village braced, tension snapping like a bowstring. Why did Custer dismiss the scouts? Could trust have changed his fate? The sun climbed, scorching the 7th Cavalry as they marched down the Rosebud. Custer rode ahead, his buckskin jacket flapping, ambition pulsing. At 36, he was a legend, but his regiment was fractured. Benteen, bitter from Washita's betrayal, muttered curses. Reno, 41, resented Custer's fame. Their 600 men, covering 70 miles since June 22, carried Springfield's, 100 rounds, and 60 pounds of gear. Horses faltered, grassless plains starving them. The pack train, 130 men, 24,000 rounds, lagged. Varnum's note confirmed the village's location. Custer, meant to join Terry's 2,000-man column, chose to strike alone, splitting his force, Benteen with 125 men south, Reno with 175 to charge, himself with 210 north. The terrain, bluffs, ravines, hidden fords, was a defender's ally, as Gregory Michno wrote in Lakota Noon. Boyer warned, "This camp's too big, General." Custer laughed. "We'll be done by supper." His men, sleepless, rode toward doom, Springfield's no match for Winchester repeaters. In the village, Crazy Horse rallied warriors. "They steal our home," he said, his voice steel. Sparrow Song gripped her bow, eyes blazing. "Let them taste our arrows," she said. The village was a fortress, the river, 50 to 100 yards wide, guarded the east, cliffs loomed west. Warriors, 1,500 to 2,500 strong, moved like shadows. Sitting Bull prayed, "Wakantonka, shield us." Custer crested a hill, the village below. Dust rose south, Reno's charge began. A scout pointed north, where warriors gathered. Custer grinned, blind to the trap. What drove Custer's split? Was ambition his downfall? Midday, June 25. The sun blazed at 80 degrees Fahrenheit, baking Reno's 175 men as they forded the Little Bighorn's 50-yard span. Wool jackets shed, they charged, hooves thundering. Reno, no Custer, led companies A, G, and M, expecting to scatter the village. Instead, they met fury, 1,200 teepees, 4,000 to 8,000 souls, 1,500 to 2,500 warriors. Hundreds surged forward, Winchesters firing 12 to 16 rounds to Springfield's 1. Sparrow Song loosed an arrow, striking a soldier. "For our kin," she screamed. Swift Arrow fired, dropping another. Reno halted 300 yards out, forming a skirmish line, 131 shooters, 44 holding horses. Volleys held briefly, but warriors, 500, then 1,000, flanked, war cries chilling. Outnumbered 7 to 8 to 1, Reno retreated to a cottonwood grove, then bolted for the bluffs. Chaos erupted, 40 men fell, 13 wounded, warriors harrying them up 200-foot slopes. Survivors dug in, Custer unseen. Private Taylor wrote, "The earth unleashed them." Wooden Leg boasted, "We knew victory." On the bluffs, Reno's men gasped, ammo low. Dust rose north, Custer's fight. Where's the general? A trooper muttered. Below, Crazy Horse rallied, shouting, finish them. Sparrow Song, bloodied, rode beside him. Women, led by elder White Buffalo Woman, sheltered the wounded, singing defiance. Reno's charge had sparked disaster, his retreat saving half but costing dearly. Was Reno's retreat cowardice or survival? How would you face such odds? Dust choked the valley as Reno's men clung to the bluffs, Springfield's blazing. A cry cut through, Crazy Horse is coming. The Oglala leader, 35, stormed in, Winchester raised, rallying 1,500 to 2,000 warriors. They encircled Reno, repeaters outgunning carbines. Reno's line crumbled, 40 dead in a bloody retreat. North, Custer's 210 men fought on Last Stand Hill, surrounded by Gall's warriors. Hoka hey! Gall roared, lance bloodied. Custer fired pistols, shouting, hold fast. Within an hour, all 210 perished. Why did Custer fall? Hubris. He ignored Boyer's warning, split his force, and underestimated the tribe's unity. The terrain, rugged coulees, steep ridges, hid warriors, as Utley noted in Cavalier in Buckskin. Springfield's jammed, Winchester's roared. Sparrow Song tended Swift Arrow's wound, her hand steady. White Buffalo Woman sang victory, but Sitting Bull warned, this is not the end. The triumph was fleeting. By 1877, most tribes were on reservations. Yet Little Bighorn was a cry for survival, etched in courage. What does this battle teach us? How can we honor its defiance?